Can Zogenix be helpful in cerebral palsy patients? If yes, do we have any testimonies?
Yeah, we don't have any testimony. Again, Zogenix is brand new in the marketplace. And what was the condition again? Cerebral palsy?
Yes,
Cerebral
yes, correct.
palsy, yes. Again, a birth deformity, a lot of times from lack of blood supply to the brain and actual damage to the brain. And that is a degenerative or a brain disorder that a lot of times has very little capability of changing. However, clinically, we have seen patients with all kinds of neurodegenerative disease change with the introduction of a product like Zogenix into their system. It's too early. We don't have any testimonies. That's the beautiful thing I'm excited about for countries all over the world starting to use Zogenix with thousands and thousands and thousands of data points coming and feeding back into us so that we know, this is how we can tweak it and even make it better.
Okay. One more question before I pass it back to Yvonne around. Maltodextrin. Maltodextrin.
I don't know the word.
Type it out. Maltodextrin.
I'm probably just not hearing it okay. Can we type it out?
Yes, I'll just type it out into the chat.
Maltodextrin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maltodextrin is known to spike blood glucose levels. Is it a concern for diabetic to take the product?
And that could be true in high levels because maltodextrin is a sugar. It happens to have some biological value and some manufacturing value. So we use it in the manufacturing process, but it has biological value. There's not enough in here to do a spike for blood sugar. And we've tested, the glucose levels before and after a product like Zogenix. It usually stabilizes the blood sugar because of the phytochemicals in combination with the maltodextrin. We looked at that very scientifically as part of the formulation.
Okay. On my side here, there are a few other questions which are from doctors. I think we bring it to the doctor session later on. Okay, so now I pass it on to Yvonne if there's any general questions.
Okay, so I'll ask, okay, how does Zogenix work with proteoglycan? How's the synergy between the two of them?
How does it work with?
Proteoglycan.
Proteoglycan. Well, proteoglycan works in the extracellular fluid, and again, as a signal into the cell, so the cell can begin to regulate itself. Now, that regulation requires other things to happen. So if proteoglycan sends a signal and the signal requires vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals to complete the signal into the DNA for gene expression, it's not going to work as good. So Zogenix is a synergistic compound with just about anything we put in our bodies to make that compound work more effectively.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Another question. So there are many products in the market saying that they can work for DNA. So what is the biggest benefit that Zogenix can do but the others can't?
Well, I don't know about a lot of the other products, but here's what we know. Each plant species, and if you take something like a red grape has hundreds to thousands of phytochemicals, and they work in the human body in a spectrum. And that spectrum is incredible, and it's very valuable. But what we found clinically, if we use a grape with a noni compound or a mangosteen compound and combine those, the synergism tends to work better. And Joegenics is a combination of scientifically studied 20 different species with thousands of interacting synergistic molecules. And we found clinically, the more that you can get of phytochemicals in your body, the better. It slows and stops and even reverses the aging process, which is the most complicated biochemical event in the human body. And we're finding Joegenics and these phytochemicals are the tools to really control aging, so our skin and our internal chemistry does not age as fast as normal.
Okay, so this brings to another question. Can Joegenics help to strengthen from within for women 40 plus years old to be pregnant, and does it delay menopause?
I would say yes in both of those conditions, and we know that because menopause in the Southeast Asian Chinese population occurs later and with far less problems than in the Western culture. So we know that's because of green tea and phytochemicals in the diet of the Southeast Asian Chinese people. It's and the longest living population on earth is the Japanese population, and it's because of the phytochemicals that are coming into their diet. The more they westernize the diet, the worse it gets. So for women, it is a great tool for supporting a normal menstrual cycle and delaying and making for an easier menopause experience. The transition from being reproductively possible to postmenopausal with nothing changing except can't have babies anymore. And so the phytochemicals are a great tool for the female anatomy, just like the male anatomy.
Okay, that's great. How does Joegenics help with a body that is allergic to many food and environmental factors like dust?
Yeah, well, and that's one of the great tools is the environment is now toxic in the 21st century. There are 80,000 chemicals in our environment that were not there 100 years ago. So the human body has experienced great stress from an environmental impact. And what we know is Joegenics, phytochemicals, are a great tool for reducing that environmental stress on the human body. It helps regulate the systems that are changed from a poor diet and toxic exposure to our environment. And so I believe it's just a great tool to help the body have less allergic stress response and a better response overall to our environments that we're living in the 21st century. That's why we created Joegenics, for the problems that exist today that didn't exist 100 years ago.
Okay, one more question, one last question. So Joegenics is in a powder form, right? And ideally we should put it in our mouth to consume it directly. So why is it in a powder form instead of a juice for this product?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of you know that I've made some incredible juice products in the past, and those great products come with a great technological challenge because they are a liquid, and liquids are not always stable. As much as we try to do that, they still have inherent stability problems. So they usually have, once you open a liquid and expose it to air, it is now starting to decline in its phytochemical concentration. They decline with age. Joegenics is in a dry powder form because it is not in this package exposed to air, and literally has a shelf life of many, many, many years. because it's in dry form. Once it's put into the mouth or made into a tea or drank with water, it's now activated, and it's now in a fresh phytochemical delivery system to the human body, just like those plants were when we processed them from the field however long ago. So this is a fresh product each and every time we take it, regardless of if it's 1 month old or 2 months old. The only thing is, once it's exposed to air, it should be used immediately. And that's why it's packaged the way that it is.
Oh, so if
So
it's
much more
a gel
effective.
gel form is also considered liquid, right? That's another question. If it's a gel form, it's considered
Gel
liquid as
form
well,
is
right?
the same as a liquid. Yeah, it's the same. It's again a liquid exposed to those phytochemicals and those dry powder botanicals, and they're going to degrade with time. So this is what I feel like is the best technology for me to take, so that I have a fresh product each and every time. And I love my liquid products, but I don't use those anymore because we found a better, more effective way, not only for me, but for the people that I love, my family, and the patients that I work with, and the people we share the product with. So this is the best delivery system that we know of right now. Simple and easy, and it's very, very effective.